Welcome back to my channel Dinar and Dong Updates. The Iraqi Dinar, IQD, and Vietnamese Dong, VND, an in-depth analysis of recent developments and global currency impacts. In today's fast-moving financial world, currencies play a significant role not just in domestic economies, but also in shaping global trends. Two currencies that have garnered particular attention recently are the Iraqi Dinar, IQD, and the Vietnamese Dong, VND. From reform efforts in Baghdad to economic expansion in Hanoi, both nations are navigating complex paths toward greater stability and global integration. In this article, we'll break down the latest updates related to these currencies, assess how geopolitical developments are influencing their performance, and explore what it all means for investors, policymakers, and everyday citizens. Iraq's road to economic recovery and currency reform. Iraq has been making notable strides toward rebuilding its financial structure and restoring confidence in its national currency. After years of instability, both politically and economically, the government is taking meaningful steps to reclaim control over its monetary system and encourage economic recovery. One of the major elements of this reform is cracking down on the misuse of financial channels. There is growing scrutiny on the influence of armed groups, often referred to as militias, that have historically benefited from gaps in financial regulation. By reducing the access of these groups to the financial system, Iraq is attempting to clean up its economic landscape and establish a more stable foundation for the dinar. This push for monetary discipline has involved greater control over the foreign currency market, more transparent fiscal policies, and tighter oversight of financial institutions. Iraq's central bank has also been active in monitoring dollar outflows and enforcing compliance with international standards, a move seen as essential to rebuilding foreign investor confidence. Speculation over dinar circulation. While these efforts are commendable, one major point of contention remains: just how much Iraqi dinar is actually in circulation. Some sources estimate the figure at around 80 trillion dinars, a number that has raised concerns among currency watchers. However, others believe this number may be significantly lower, especially considering how much currency may be out of effective use or held in reserves. The reality is that without access to complete and transparent financial data from the Central Bank of Iraq, CBI, estimating the true volume of dinar is incredibly challenging. As a result, much of the discourse around dinar value is speculative at best. Investors and analysts alike should be cautious about drawing conclusions from unofficial figures. It's important to recognize that currency value is influenced by more than just volume. It's also shaped by market demand, fiscal discipline, foreign reserves, inflation control, and geopolitical factors. The tax myth, cruise ship exchanges, and misinformation. In the dinar-focused online communities, there has been a resurgence of rumors and myths. One particularly wild claim recently surfaced. A commentator said they planned to exchange their dinar on an international cruise ship to avoid paying taxes. Let's set the record straight. This is false and dangerous misinformation. Tax obligations are not based on the location of your currency exchange, but rather on your residency and citizenship status. If you're a citizen or resident of a country like the United States, for example, you are required to report and potentially pay taxes on any significant foreign exchange gains, regardless of where the transaction takes place. Trying to bypass tax laws can lead to legal consequences. If you're unsure about your tax responsibilities regarding foreign currency holdings or exchange, always consult a qualified tax professional. It's far better to be informed and compliant than to take misguided advice that could land you in trouble. Iran's rial in crisis. While Iraq is trying to stabilize its currency, neighboring Iran is facing a far more dire situation. The Iranian rial has collapsed to a record low, breaching the threshold of 1 million rials per US dollar. This steep devaluation has been driven largely by the intensification of U.S. sanctions, ongoing economic mismanagement, and rising inflation. Iran's situation is alarming not only for its citizens, who are facing rapidly declining purchasing power, but also for the broader region. Currency instability in such a geopolitically sensitive area has ripple effects, affecting trade, investment confidence, and even security. Investors should watch closely, as such developments can impact neighboring economies, oil markets, and overall sentiment in the Middle East. Digital dinar, Iraq's future currency vision. On a more futuristic note, Iraq is exploring the introduction of a digital version of the dinar. While there is no immediate plan to eliminate physical currency, especially as the government works to expand sectors like tourism that still rely on cash, the digital dinar is expected to play a significant role in international transactions. If implemented effectively, this digital currency could transform cross-border money transfers, dramatically reducing fees and transfer times. This is particularly significant given Iraq's goal of integrating more seamlessly into the global economy. However, the challenge lies in public trust. Iraqi citizens have historically had a complicated relationship with their banking system, with many preferring to hold physical cash due to concerns over corruption and inefficiency. Building trust in a digital system will take time, education, and demonstrable success. Still, if Iraq can make the shift successfully, it could place itself ahead of many developing nations in terms of digital finance infrastructure. Vietnamese dong, steady growth, amid global challenges. Turning our focus to Vietnam, the Vietnamese dong, VND, hasn't experienced the same level of instability as the Iraqi dinar, but it still faces its own set of challenges and opportunities. Vietnam has seen consistent economic growth over the past decade, driven by manufacturing exports, foreign investment, and strong domestic consumption. The country's proactive fiscal and monetary policies have helped maintain currency stability, even during global economic slowdowns. That said, Vietnam's economy is also exposed to external risks, such as global supply chain disruptions, inflationary pressures, dependence on key trade partners like China and the U.S. Despite these challenges, the dong has remained relatively stable, and the long-term outlook appears positive. If Vietnam continues its trajectory of reforms and economic openness, the dong could gradually gain more prominence in regional trade and finance. Guru hype versus reality. Foreign exchange. Rumors. There's been a lot of chatter in online forums and among currency gurus about an imminent revaluation of the Iraqi dinar and finalized currency exchange contracts. Some speculate that banks are gearing up for large-scale foreign currency exchanges and that a reset is just around the corner. While it's true that some banks are preparing infrastructure to handle foreign currency, there is no official timeline for a mass revaluation or exchange event. These rumors are largely speculative and should be approached with skepticism. The path to currency reform is gradual and grounded in policy changes, economic fundamentals, and international cooperation, not sudden, dramatic events. Anyone investing in foreign currencies should do so with a clear understanding of the risks and avoid getting swept up in hype or unverified predictions. Iraq's liquidity and bond strategy. One critical issue Iraq is facing right now is a liquidity shortfall. To address this, the Ministry of Finance is issuing large volumes of government bonds to inject capital into the economy and cover budgetary gaps. The government is currently attempting to sell bonds valued at 3 trillion dinars, around 2.3 billion USD, to local banks. These bonds come with attractive interest rates, 8% for 2-year bonds and 10% for 4-year bonds, which are designed to lure in investors and stabilize cash flow. While this is a smart short-term measure, it remains to be seen whether these efforts will deliver the intended long-term effects. Issuing debt can provide temporary relief, but must be managed carefully to avoid future financial burdens. Exchange rate updates. Dollar versus dinar. As of the latest figures, the exchange rate between the Iraqi dinar and the US dollar has seen minor fluctuations, a potential signal that the government's measures to control inflation may be starting to pay off. In Baghdad, the rate recently dipped from 147,200 to 146,800 dinars per $100. In Erbil, the rate matched Baghdad's, with a selling price of 146,800 and a buying price of 146,700 per $100. While these changes may seem minor, even slight shifts in exchange rates can influence import costs, export competitiveness, and domestic purchasing power. For a country like Iraq, still rebuilding its economic foundation, such movements are worth paying close attention to. What's next for the dinar and dong? Both Iraq and Vietnam stand at critical junctures in their economic development. Iraq faces more pressing challenges: political reform, security, and financial transparency. But the nation is showing signs of progress through digital initiatives and fiscal restructuring. The digital dinar, if successful, could become a game-changer in how Iraq engages with the global financial system. Vietnam, on the other hand, is riding a wave of steady growth. While the dong may not be in the headlines as frequently as the dinar, its stable performance and integration into global trade make it an attractive